Dr. Cornel West went on the Bad Faith podcast with Brianna Joy Gray, where she asked him about leaving the Green Party. Then she brought on Dr. Jill Stein to talk about Dr. Cornel West leaving the Green Party. Then she put on Dr. Jill Stein to talk about why Dr. West left the Green Party. Then she brought on the Jamu Baraka to talk about why Cornel West left the Green Party. And now I'm responding to that.
Challenging empire. And were we going to drop that because Dr. West decided he didn't want to run with the party? No, we had asked him to run with the party. Not could we back him and abandon the party? No, we had asked him to run with the party, and then he changed his mind for whatever reasons. I heard a little bit of...
So Dr. Jill Stein and we know Christopher Hedges, they asked Dr. West to run with the party. They asked him to run for the party, right? They asked him to run for the party, meaning they saw an opportunity. Is that fair? Is that fair? If I ask you out on a date, I'm asking you because, right? I'm asking. I'm the one inquiring. I'm the one that wants to go out on a date with you. It's up to you to decide if that's something you would also enjoy doing, but I'm proposing it to you. I'm giving you the proposition. So if that's true, is it fair to say that if there's some bad blood about this, maybe it's on the Green Party side because they're the ones that asked Dr. West to join, then he joins and leaves? No? Is that possibly how this went? I just want to put that out there because Bree doesn't stop and bring that up. I want to bring that up. I want to make this a point. And I'm going to see this several times throughout this video that Bree does not stop her and dissect what she's saying. So once again, just think about that. Let that sit with you. Dr. Stein, Chris Hedges, these guys, Chris Hedges, friend of Dr. West, said he should run green. Dr. Stein says she admits it. We asked him to run with us. Okay, let's keep going.
Complaining that he was going to be required to attend 4 debates within the party. And I heard some complaining about that and abandon the party. No.
I noticed her hand on her face as well. I don't know if that means anything. I do that too. Sometimes my skin gets a little oily, but just notice the body language of this about Dr. West complaining about the 4 debates.
We had asked him to run with the party, and then he changed his mind for whatever reasons. I heard a little bit of complaining that he was going to be required to attend 4 debates within the party. And I heard some complaining about that. And I said, well, let's dialogue about this.
Good, let's dialogue about it. Because when I looked up those 4 debates since Dr. Cornel West left, I can't find the 4 debates. Where are the 4 debates? I put a tweet out to the Green Party members, it's on my Twitter profile, asking, hey, I know Dr. West left, but could somebody link me, give me a video link, a blog link, an article link, to what was the outcome with the 4 debates that were mandatory that you said Dr. West was asked to attend that he didn't want to attend? So who attended them? Because there were other people running, right? That's why he wasn't just coronated or whatever. You wanted him to run for the nomination for the Green Party, right? So since he didn't run for the nomination of the Green Party, who ran for it and where are the 4 debates? I don't know why this question wasn't asked. I can't find 4 debates. It looks like there was 1 debate, and it looks like that debate that I can find on YouTube. Once again, I asked for help. I didn't get it. I found 1 debate that's between Dr. Jill Stein 2 months ago, Dr. Jill Stein, Claudia De La Cruz, a libertarian guy. It's like an inter-party, an independent party debate. A libertarian guy, De La Cruz is a socialist. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of her party, but it's not the Green Party, it's another party. So various, it looks like nominees from other parties, besides the Democratic and Republican parties, are debating. So I don't think that counts as being Green Party debates. So once again, you said Dr. West didn't want to attend 4 debates. I can't find 4 debates without Dr. West. Does it matter? Like, if Dr. West is not there or there, if it's mandatory, that means with or without him, right? I don't mean to be a prick and stay here too long, but I'm trying to understand, y'all. If you tell me this is what we got to do, Tim Black, we need you to do this. This is what we do in this party. We need you to do what we normally do, which is we go through this process. And this process includes this structure. We have 4 debates. If I bow out, you should still have them 4 debates. Did Dr. Jill Stein debate 4 times? Where are Dr. Jill Stein's 4 debates? Because she's a presumptive nominee, right? So who's she challenging? Who's challenging her? And where are those other people? That makes sense? I don't know if that makes sense. That's the thing I asked, but I'm going to keep going because we could stay there too long, I think, because there's no one talking back to me. I'm sure there's an explanation for why you said it was mandatory that Dr. West attend 4 debates, and now that there's no Dr. West, the debates are gone. That don't make sense. Like you said it earlier, you built up a party over years. Decades building the Green Party. You're not going to change everything because Dr. West is running with you. And if that's the case, and I respect the hell out of that. I respect that, first of all right? But I would expect you to follow the procedure with or without him. And it doesn't look like you did. Maybe if you would have changed the procedure like you ended up changing it for yourself, maybe Dr. West would still be agreeing with the Green Party. I'm just saying. You said that was something he complained about. You said, in fact, that was like the only thing you know he complained about. Funny how that's not a problem, taking away the 4 debates after he leaves. I don't know. That's how it looks to me. Maybe I need clarity. But I'm sure we could clean it up later. Let's keep going, guys.
Because you can do whatever you want. The party will tell you things, but you have to be able to push back against the party. And I think having to deal with a party, it's like dealing with an organization. If you have been a solo player for all of your life and done a great job with that and had a big impact as a lone voice, it's very hard then to start operating with a political party that you don't know and to be building those relationships in the heat of the battle when you're really under fire, especially running for something like president. And Dr. West had never run for any office before, had never worked with any party until he was trying to work with the People's Party and discovered how complicated that was. And then we had hoped to rescue him from that. And then it just proved to be just more difficult than he wanted.
I'm looking at the language here. You wanted to rescue him. So now it's not you wanted him to run with the Green Party, but now you wanted to rescue him. Rescue sounds like you're doing him a favor. No, just choice of language, that's all. No pushback from Bree. Ravens must have a really tight relationship, I'm thinking. All right.
To put up with, because he has his own voice, which is very powerful. And I think he felt betrayed, thinking that my running for office, running to fill that gap was a betrayal of my invitation to him to run with the party. But I think that was a misunderstanding. It wasn't like we wanted to put our decades worth of work to build a political infrastructure that could be here for the long haul. We didn't want to say, oh, forget that. We're abandoning our work of decades in order to support your campaign, Dr. West. No, it was Dr. West. Do you want to be the voice of this movement here? And it seemed like he did. And then he decided he didn't. And we didn't have much time to salvage our work of decades. And there was no way I was going to let that crumble.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because I could understand, and I've heard other people allude to as much. So, and I want you to respond to this as well, but I could understand if the argument is institutionally the sort of messaging approach of the Green Party is different than my own as a kind of a solo figure, as you described him, I think accurately, and that there might be a particular amount of sensitivity around that, given Dr. West's racial priorities, and let's say perhaps the stereotype / truth of the Green Party historically not being one that was especially diverse.
I'm sorry, guys. I just want to cut in for my black viewers. When she says racial priorities, I think she means the concerns of black people. But she calls it his racial priorities. It's almost as if Bree can barely say black. In fact, it kind of shows us clearly part of the problem. You just said it institutionally that the Green Party's, let me get on the screen here, man. Bree just says institutionally, the Green Party's not known for dealing with basically the racial priorities of Dr. West. That's a big conflict of interest, right? Like, if you know this, why are we having this conversation? If you know that the party is not historically about that life, I mean, we're going to talk. I'm sorry, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just going to speak the way laymen speak. So, if the Green Party is not about that life, not about that black life specifically, not a cornerstone of the party, and I know they got a grocery list of policies. I get that. I understand that. They got a very big glossary of things that they say they stand for. But I've talked to Green Party members in person at events, when I went to Ohio, for instance. And they were telling me the same thing that I'm saying out of my mouth now, that the Green Party does not focus enough on black issues. And that's one of the reasons why the Green Party is that heavy in the black community. Like, this ain't hard to tell. This is not a secret. There are many people that don't even know what the Green Party is. When I supported Dr. Jill Stein, for instance, when I supported her, I was telling people that I was voting for Jill Stein. Black people, and they were like, who's that? And then I told them, and I was like, Green Party. They're like, what's the Green Party? They hadn't even heard of it. Now, I understand that has a lot to do with our duopoly and all that other stuff. But the bottom line is, the Green Party has not made inroads in the black community substantially, I believe, because of their lack of focus on black issues. And just because you put a John Baraka on the ticket does not change that. Obviously. Bree says, racial priorities, I say black people problems. Black agenda, black issues. Okay. So let me go back to Bree. She says more. And we're here for it.
Structure for challenging empire. And were we of
Sort of messaging approach of the Green Party.
we didn't have much time to salvage our work of decades. And there was no way I was going to let that crumble.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because I could understand, and I've heard other people allude to as much. So, and I want you to respond to this as well, but I could understand if the argument is institutionally the sort of messaging approach of the Green Party is different than my own as a kind of a solo figure, as you described him, I think accurately, and that there might be a particular amount of sensitivity around that, given Dr. West's racial priorities, and let's say perhaps the stereotype / truth of the Green Party historically not being one that was especially diverse or particularly committed to the interest of black.
Jesus Christ. Y'all don't talk about black people shit. You don't discuss black issues, things that are pertinent to the black community that hit home for black people, such as this long word salady thing that we're dealing with here. Am I the only one feeling like, what is this with all the words for this? Dr. Stein, do you realize, Dr. Stein, that there are black people who feel that the Green Party does not speak to their needs specifically? From their point of view in a relatable way that they understand and feel like you feel their pain and that you were champion for those interests. Fuck allude. We don't need an allude. I had people straight up tell me, just like I'm telling you. They didn't take this long to say it.
Americans, as opposed to broader equality movements and all the other things that the Green Party stands for, but not in a particularized, specific, prioritized way that it has come across in Dr. West's work, academic work, personal life, and those kinds of things, right? So I can see how that could be the seed of conflict. That being said, it still was surprising to me to hear how much of what Dr. West said in that interview did seem to be focused at you, saying something like, I think Dr. Stein is addicted to running, felt like a very personal sort of statement. And when I pushed back, Dr. West asked, well, don't you believe me? Don't you take me at my word? Haven't I kind of earned that? And I said, well, yes, but so has Dr. Stein.
That's not exactly what happened. Dr. West was saying he had an issue with Dr. Jill Stein. He felt like once he got to know her, he didn't feel comfortable. He didn't want to work with her. And you kept pushing to find out why. And he just said, hey, isn't it enough that I said I didn't feel comfortable working with her? Isn't that enough? Why do I have to redefine for you why I felt that way? I felt that way. And this leads me to a very important point here, guys. Men, particularly black men, are allowed to not feel comfortable and be able to say that, and you respect it. It doesn't need to be quantified for you what that is. What happened to all the intersectionality shit? If Dr. West was Mrs. West, and she said, hey, I don't feel comfortable working with this guy. I don't want to deal with him. After getting to know him, I didn't feel comfortable. You would stop the conversation there. You wouldn't be like, what do you mean? I don't understand, and follow up and follow up and follow up to try to get more. You would respect that there were personal reasons that he felt or that she felt that way. But since it's Dr. West and he's a man and Dr. Jill Stein is a woman, I feel like you're letting some of the gender crap get in the way. Now, Dr. West is allowed not to want to work with somebody. He's allowed to say, hey, I don't feel like we mesh. I don't feel good about working side by side with this person. Now that I've gotten to know them. I felt that way about a few people I've met via progressive circles. It's not that strange a thing to feel that way. Some people felt that way about me, obviously. So it's not like it needs to be quantified and you need to understand it. You just need to accept it and believe that's how they felt. He did not expect you to agree that there's an issue with Jill Stein. Just agree that he can have an issue with Jill Stein. It's not your business and it's real for him, whatever that is. That's the disconnection I think you're missing. It's not about you agreeing to feel the same way about Dr. Jill Stein as if it's her fault. It's accepting that he has his own feelings about this and that those are justified to him. And that's the only person that needs to be justified with. Because it's his decision. But we're going to keep going, man. Let's keep going.
And that's the problem here, that there are two figures who I think have earned a lot of respect. And given your unwillingness to be more specific and let us kind of assess whatever it is that's bothering you for ourselves, it leads me to the conclusion that I have to suspend whatever judgment I might be basing on what you're saying to me right now. I'm basically not take you at face value, at least until you're willing to disclose more. So I did want you to weigh in on that specific point, which is, do you think this has something to do with messaging around racial politics? And do you have any thoughts or critique about the Green Party and whether or not it needs to adjust at all on that particular issue?
Well, let me say, when I ran with Ajamu Baraka,
I got a black friend. His name is Ajamu. And I got a black friend. And he was going to be talking about black issues. You just didn't get a chance to. Right? Right?
Our agenda was very much a product of the two of us. And, Black politics was as front and center as one can imagine. And Dr. West himself was an advocate and kind of a surrogate for that too. So I didn't see that. I really didn't see that as an issue. And a candidate can they create their own messaging. So that's why I think this was more a question of like understanding how you work with a party. A party may tell you what they want you to do, but you do what you want. At the end of the day.
So you were trying to tell Dr. West what to do. And we get into it now. I mean, I agree with Dr. Stein in the fact that maybe Dr. West is not predisposed on the inner workings of campaigns and how campaigns work and the push and pull of the whole thing. And also, I would go so far as to say he probably didn't have a stomach for it once he realized what it was about. Okay? I think that's a fair assessment. Once again, I voted for Dr. Jill Stein. I supported Dr. Jill Stein. I've done nothing but favorable coverage of Dr. Jill Stein. So I'm not here to trash Dr. Jill Stein. But when I think black issues, I don't think Green Party. And I think if the Green Party, I think if Jill Stein was out there stumping, was talking more about black issues, more than just Black Lives Matter, more than cops shooting black people, if she started really talking about black issues, some of their white supporters might leave. I know this because it happened to me. But now you're going to tell me it's a figment of my imagination? That didn't happen? I took a reset race pill and started really going harder on black issues because I wanted my legacy to be something that helped my people for all the reasons that we don't even need to go into everything. But we'll just say, you can't own a chair if you are property. Property don't own property. So black people couldn't own shit for several generations. And I know that needs to be rectified. I feel like what's really paining the black community is economical. Okay? That's the biggest thing. So, but once again, the Green Party, when you think, I have a lot of people here. There's a lot of black people that follow my show now. A lot more now. There was some before, but more now. And I'm telling you, Dr. Stein, if you're unaware, on them streets, when people think black, they don't think Green Party. Okay? When they think black issues, they don't think Green Party. Is that accidental? Or is that a byproduct of the way things are done in the Green Party? And the people that do know the Green Party, I've heard even those people, even people within the Green Party, say when they think black people, they don't think Green Party. Let's keep going, man.
You are an independent campaign, and you have enormous leeway to structure that campaign. The thing is, though, that people are going to approach you and say, well, what are your policies and can you justify them? And I think he got some pushback on some policies that were not front and center, and they were not racial justice policies. I think they had more to do with LGBTQ issues, where he was getting some pushback. And not that he was getting terrible pushback, it's just people wanted to debate the issues. And that goes on all the time, in any organization.
There you go. Now you're getting to it. I thought he didn't make it. I think Dr. Jill Stein is clearly explaining some of the issues that Dr. West faced. It sounds like somebody wants to elevate LGBTQ issues above black issues. Or tackling white supremacy. Is that safe to say? I remember hearing about this. I remember hearing that Dr. West is being bombarded on Facebook or some other platform by members of the Green Party who were strong supporters of LGBTQ rights, QIA rights, and they were very upset and going at Dr. West or something. I remember hearing this. Bree, you didn't hear this? They was telling him a new one on some social media site, upset, basically calling him phobic. And Dr. Jill Stein's going to basically tell you what it's about.
It's just people wanted to debate the issues. And that goes on all the time, in any organization, and certainly in the Green Party. You're going to have a lot of debate.
When you say pushback on LGBTQ issues, what kind of pushback? That the Green Party didn't feel like that those issues were sufficiently emphasized in Dr. West's campaign, or the other way around?
I wouldn't even say the Green Party. I would say that individuals within the Green Party who have special commitments on certain issues, they're going to want to debate Where do you stand on, on sports teams, and gender and sport?
So they were upset with Dr. West about trans sports, trans athletes playing sports on teams with women, with cisgender women, right? Something like that. That was the issue, and he wasn't clear enough on his stance on that, right? Isn't that enough reason? Like, maybe Dr. West didn't want to get into these debates. Like, once again, I think whatever happened for good reason. I don't know why we got to go back through this. Remember, this is me speaking up about an issue with Dr. West. Ajamu, I made a tweet about the reparations. That's how this started. About the Green Party and reparations, the Jill Stein and reparations. And Ajamu made a comment on my timeline. I didn't tag him. I didn't tag Jill. I didn't tag the Green Party. I didn't tag Bree. And they and the next thing I know, I got other people that I don't even talk to on my timeline defending the Green Party. Is it the Green Party, this pro-black party? You guys must not have watched any of the interviews I did with Dr. West. I mean, I know you don't rock with me, but me and Dr. West have talked a lot on this channel. We even said, man, we wish there was a black party. We've said that. That was been live on this show. So I think this is all, it don't need to be said, man. But there you go. That's it. That's it right there, Bree. She said, hey, we had LGBTQ people coming at Dr. West about trans athletes and shit like that, and Dr. West wasn't time for, he didn't want to hear it. He did not, whatever, he was not, at least he was not hearing it to the sufficient amount or giving it the whatever they wanted him to do. They were unhappy with his whatever. And maybe, and I will say, maybe, I don't know, this is true. Once again, I haven't talked to Dr. West about this particular thing. I don't speak for him, speak for myself. But is it possible he was like, hey man, I didn't sign up for this shit? Is that possible? That doesn't make Dr. West a bad person. It doesn't make Dr. Stein a bad person in and of itself.
These are not kind of the leading issues or the front and center priorities of the party, but
what are the front and center priorities of the party? Are they black? Are they Indian white supremacy? Are those front and center issues? Be honest. Be honest what the front and center issues are. It's ending the empire, right? Climate change, right? Green New Deal type stuff, like healthcare? Where's the black stuff? Everything in America is built on the pain and suffering of black Americans. I need you to name anything in America that's not built on the pain and suffering of black Americans. And then when I bring up black people go, that's divisive. Everything in America is built on it. Right now, Dr. West and many others are trying to boycott or have staged a boycott of Wells Fargo. Why? Because they still have money in the system from slavery. Once again, racism and black suffering are the underpinnings of everything in America. But to you, it's not a front and center issue of your party. Was Dr. West receiving pushback for making that a front and center issue? I know with the Jimmy Dore crew, they called him unserious because he wanted to make it a front and center issue. Any candidate that talks about black issues, black agendas, reparations, any of those things along those lines, economics for black folks, compensation for black Americans, American descendants of slaves, foundational black Americans, however you frame it, black Americans born in this country, from parents that are born in this country, from parents who are born in this country, right? Everything's built on that. Was the Green Party okay with that? Was he getting applause for that at your meetings or whatever? Or were people pushing back? Saying we need to focus on class issues. I'm just asking. Bree didn't ask. She did kinda. She didn't follow up on that though. So I'm just asking. But okay, we're gonna keep going.
They matter a lot to members of the party. And so when you are a candidate for the party and a lot of people are doing work for you, they want to engage you and they want to know where you stand. And if they're not really wild about your positions, they're going to debate that with you.
She's being really aloof with the way she's framing all this. They wanted to debate you. You mean they was getting mad? They was sparking beef. It was getting contentious, right? Can we say that people were getting heated, Dr. Stein? Can we use stronger language that more accurately defines or describes what was going on? Yeah, because that's what I heard. You didn't hear that? And they didn't feel all that excited about your platform? No, they was pissed. They felt slighted. They felt like he was a colonizer or something, right? And some of them are leaning into the Navalny thing, calling him a Nazi sympathizer over a tweet of one line in a tweet about a guy's parents. Remember that? And these are the people that he's supposed to work with for the next 6-9 months on a campaign for the presidency? And I'm not saying, look, this was his decision, but you don't understand why he might make this decision? We haven't even gotten to the personal beef between you two. This is just about the inner workings of the Green Party at this point.
And I think that's, that is a price you have to pay for working with a team. You have to respect your team. You have to be willing to debate and dialogue with them. And if you're used to being a solo, a solo entity, that can seem like it's kind of a pain. That's the only stuff I was aware of. That, and then, I know he got a lot of pushback around the, what's his name? The Russian, dissident. Navalny. He got pushed back around Navalny. I'm not sure where that fell in the scheme of things. I think that was after he had already left the party. But, things like that, you're going to be criticized. And anyone who runs for office, learns to start anticipating where you're going to be criticized and how you may need to moderate your message to anticipate that. And, I started off as his campaign manager just because we had to get him going very quickly. Not that I wanted to do that, but I knew how to do a lot of the stuff to get the groundwork laid. But I saw very early on that he was operating as a kind of a political novice, and it was very hard to give him advice. Like the stuff around Harlan Crow, accepting his contributions. We gave him a heads up about that right away. You don't want to accept that. You're going to get a lot of flack for doing that. And, Dr. West wanted to make up his own mind based on his principled positions, not on kind of just the realities of running for office where you want to pick your battles. You really want to choose which issues you're going to go to the mat on. And, it's hard for people who are running for the first time to suddenly have the, kind of the reflexes that you develop after a while. But if you're not running with an experienced team, forget it. You may be a strong voice in the wilderness, but you are not going to really contest for power with the empire.
Sounds a lot like Dr. Jill Stein really was kind of trying to micromanage Dr. West. You don't feel that way? Bree, you sat there with this whole white woman not feeling that way? You didn't get that vibe at all, that she's kind of micromanaging Dr. West? You didn't feel that? I feel it through the screen. She might not even be aware of it. It sounds, Dr. Stein, you sound like you're Karen in him, like a Karen right now. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. She's just trying to talk. So yeah, she's just trying to talk to him and explain to him. He doesn't understand what's going on. He's such a novice, and we're trying to help him, make him see. I could have told him that. I'm not a serial runner for office, though I ran for office twice to be governor of Massachusetts and twice for the presidency. That's 4 times. Dr. West has run for office 0 times. He says maybe you have an addiction to running for office, but you just ran 4 times and now you're running again. That would make 5. How many people have ran for office 5 times, Dr. Stein? That's a lot of times. I know it may not seem like a lot of times, but that's a lot of times. I, for instance, have ran 0 times. But you don't understand why someone will call you a serial candidate. You just said, hey, Dr. West don't know this stuff I do because I ran so many times, and 20 minutes earlier, less than that. This video is only 10 minutes long. You didn't understand why Dr. West would say you were a serial campaigner. Bree didn't catch it either. Counselor. She said she didn't understand what someone will call a serial campaigner. She's campaigned 4 times, 5 times now. And here she's trying to tell Dr. West what to do with his campaign. And she's not his campaign manager. Duh. As an independent black man myself, I don't like people telling me what to do. I'm sure as whatever you are, you might feel the same way. Particularly those who don't have a job. Them days is over for me. I don't know, maybe some of you guys, are so used to being at jobs, so you got to listen to managers and supervisors and shit. But once you get out of that world, it's a different world, right? For those that know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. With all due respect, Dr. Stein, you sound like a Karen here, and you sound a little overbearing and a little controlling. I'm surprised Brianna didn't correct you, or at least point it out, or make a follow up, or something. There's nothing here. I thought you said you respected them both. I do respect them both, but this is what she's saying, and I don't hear you asking or commenting about it. One more time, little bit.
Principled positions, not on kind of just the realities of running for office. Groundwork laid, but I saw very early on that he was operating as a kind of a political novice, and it was very hard to give him advice. Like the stuff around Harlan Crow.
That didn't sound good. He was operating as sort of a political novice, and like the stuff around Harlan Crow. All right, maybe
accepting his contributions. We gave him a heads up about that right away. You don't want to accept that.
Who is we? We gave him a heads up. Who gave him a heads up? Who is we?
You're going to get a lot of flack for doing that. And, Dr. West wanted
I see Brianna nodding her head.
To make up his own mind based on his principled positions, not on kind of just the realities of running for office where you want to pick your battles. You really want to choose which issues you're going to go to the mat on. And, it's hard for people who are running for the first time to suddenly have the, kind of the reflexes that you develop after a while. But if you're not running with an experienced team, forget it. You may be a strong voice in the wilderness, but you are not going to really contest for power with the empire. And, when it became clear that Dr. West wanted to run the campaign his way, I backed off, and I said, okay, run it the way you want, make the hires you want, et cetera. I'm not.
Now, how did that go? How did it go? Did it go as amicably as you making it sound? Were you like, sure. Oh, you want me to mind my business? Oh, fine. I'm being all up in your shit, in your space? Okay, I'm just going to bow out. I love you, Cornel. You're the best. Anytime. Let's do lunch tomorrow. Or was it like bad blood? Let's be honest. How was that really? You have this guy making these mistakes in your eyes. He don't know what he's doing. He's effing up. You see it. It's your party. You've been building it. You've been running. You ran twice. What is it? 2012, 2016. You're back. It's your thing. It's your heart and soul. And all the volunteers and all the money and all the effort for decades poured into this thing. This guy comes in, he's knocking over the furniture, he's redecorating. He wants to do it his way. I mean, were you really taking that like a breeze, like a summer breeze? Or was there a little bit of thunderstorm and lightning going on? Was there a little thunder and lightning going on? Was some furniture moving around? I'm not assigning blaming you. You're a human being. He's a human being. Are we acting like these are two human beings that disagreed? And maybe somebody's felt a certain kind of way about it. Is that so hard to imagine? Is that a stretch? I don't think Dr. Stein is being as forthcoming as she could be about this.
We're going to try to bring to this my, 20 years experience of running for office. Go ahead.
There it is, 20 years experience running for office, but not a serial runner for officer. Now add another 4 years to it. Or another year to it, because now she's running again. That was before she ran this time, okay? Okay? Governor of Massachusetts, she ran for governor of Massachusetts in 2002 and 2010. President of the United States, she ran for Green Party candidate for president in 2012 and 2016. Overall, she's ran for major offices at least 4 times. Thank you, ChatGPT.
Do it your own way. And I've just seen so many campaigns do that and, run into completely predictable problems that are going to, really limit what they can do in their race. And when that became clear, and then when Dr. West wanted to separate his campaign, it just felt like, okay, now we've got a genocide going on. Empire has totally gone ballistic. Empire and oligarchy and the climate change, they are taking us down, and this could be the last race where we actually can run a race. And we need to fight for a world that works for all of us here, like our lives depend on.
I noticed also here that Dr. Jill Stein, when she said all these things that were going on, when she realized that Dr. West was no longer going to run with the Green Party, she says, we had a genocide going on, we got this war. What's the other thing she said?
The climate change, they are taking us down, and
climate change.
To separate his campaign, it just felt like, okay, now we've got a genocide going on. Empire has totally gone ballistic. Empire and oligarchy and the climate change, they are taking us down, and this could be the last race where we.
Okay. I don't remember hearing something about Black Americans there. I'm trying to tell you, man. It's one of my dreams that somehow Black Americans get pulled away from the Democratic Party. And you would think a third party would be able to do that. But it won't be able to do that if it doesn't speak directly for Black issues. Right? If she would have said, right here, to all the people that said, Tim Black, Jill Stein supports reparations. Yeah, I know, so does Kamala Harris. Get it? Because people didn't understand what I was saying. Even my brother Jamu. Love you, bruh. But you didn't get what I was saying. JB didn't get what I was saying. And everybody's, hell, there are all these members in Congress that say they support H.R. 40. But do they really support reparations? Look, there's one thing to say, hey, I support it. Another thing is to be a advocate. Advocate. Activist. That's different. Jill Stein ain't no advocate of it. She's not an activist for Black reparations, Black agendas. My main falling out with Brianna Joy Gray was the same thing. She talk it sometimes, but then she said that horrible shit like, I don't know, Black people keep saying they want bills for themselves or things specifically for them. Just staple the name Black on top of the Medicare for All bill. That's enough for them because it's really going to help more Black people. Really, it is? It's going to help more white people. We're only 14% of the population. But okay. But no, that's not what black people want. Okay? It's not what black people want. It may be what you want for them, and you know more than them, and you're smarter than them. They don't know what they want. They don't know what's good for them, right? And that's why we can't get their fucking vote. And that's why they keep voting the way they do. And that's why so many of them are choosing the couch. And Dr. Jill Stein had this opportunity when she named all these things that are creeping up, that are befalling us right now, that are barreling down on American citizens: climate change, genocide, empire, and oligarchy. She didn't say black agenda, black people suffering. She didn't say reparations, none of those things. And yes, black people want to hear that. Not when you ask her, hey, do you support reparations? But no, in her stump speeches, in her regular conversation. I listened to a Brianna Joy Gray and Jill Stein interview back in November, I think it was. And I didn't hear the word black mentioned one time, and they talked for like 30 minutes. The second interview I listened to, I didn't hear her talk about. In this interview, that's only mentioned once or twice. That's because Bree brought it up. Not because Jill brought it up. Not because Dr. Jill brought it up. That's a problem. When I talk to Dr. West, I don't have to wait to bring it up. He brings it up. We bring it up together. It's different.
Actually can run a race. And we need to fight for a world that works for all of us here, like our lives depend on it. And, it was clear to me that
works for all of us. That's what I'm saying. When people say works for all of us, somehow we get left out. Somehow we get left out, Jill. You sounded like you don't get it, okay? And I think it's an oversight. Bree, you're not helping. You're not helping here. You should be right there saying it, but see, I advocate for black Americans. You support them, but do you advocate? I advocate. This is what advocating looks like. I center black issues. That's what Dr. West is trying to do. The author of Race Matters wants to center black issues, and people are going, huh? Wait till they find out that the sky is blue and water is wet. In fact, fish grease is greasy. You might find that out soon. Habanero peppers are hot. Wait till you find this out. All right, so in all fairness, okay? In all fairness, I said that the Green Party didn't support reparations. I was wrong about that. I was corrected by a number of Green Party people. Okay? They said, Tim Black, you are tripping, fam. You are tripping, Tim Black. The Green Party does represent or does support reparations. It says it right here in something. Okay, and it was listed there, reparations or something. I forget the exact language. I'm sure it was not ADOS, but it was black people or black Americans or something like that. And it also said something about everybody getting help. Something about everybody getting help, but okay, fine. I can see that is in their charter or something. It was in something that you showed me for the Green Party. And also I want to concede, here goes a clip.
You say to, and I'm looking at this site from the Negro Collective. They actually did some work with your campaign manager, Jason Call, in Washington State. It is, Jamin Mason and Khalif Mitchell, who I've had on a few weeks back talking about reparations. What would you say to those who say that the price to pay for reparations is way too high for the federal government? Because a lot of times you'll have people who hand-wring about, we're in so much debt already, we can't afford to pay this much. And here it says, in part of the resolution, it says, whereas restitution for Negroes and their descendants in the United States is estimated at least $15 trillion in cash payments, endowments, annuities, trust accounts, or other investments that will improve the well-being of those Negroes and the descendants who were harmed. What would you say to those who say that that's just too much of a burden to bear?
I'd say famous last words. That's what we're told about healthcare. It's what we're told about a Green New Deal. But when it's a war or a tax cut for billionaires, no questions asked. And, we came up with trillions of dollars to bail out Wall Street within a week against the enormous preference of public opinion. We bailed out Wall Street within a week. We mobilized for wars to the tune of trillions of dollars. It's been 21 trillion, in fact, that we've spent on the endless war machine since 9/11. Was that money well spent? I don't think so.
Okay. And to be fair, guys, shout out to JB. Go to JB Font. He's got a YouTube channel. He's at 4,000. Be great if all you guys subscribe to him. And so I stand corrected there, JB, and I told you, thank you for the clip. Here's the deal, guys. Once again, it's one thing to say that you support reparations. It's another thing to advocate for it. Was that supposed to be a ringing endorsement for black people being treated well in this society? Did that sound like a ringing endorsement? I mean, how many black people feel totally moved by her words there? Who feels energized like, hey, she's going to ride for us? Is that what you feel? I don't feel that way at all. In fact, that response was Limp Bizkit, was banal, was lame, lazy. It was corny. People say that all the time about everything. We got money for war but can't feed the poor. Tupac said it. We got money for bombs, but can't help out moms. All she need to do is rhyme it with something. I mean, come on, man. That's a layup and an easy question. It would have felt better if she would have voiced it to you. And then when she did, I'm not feeling anything. Now, just contrast that, you just heard from Dr. Stein, the ringing endorsement for reparations. Contrast that to this.
But for those of us who decide to stay in the belly of the beast, I don't think we need another study. We've had enough studies. The work has been done. I was blessed to have a wonderful interview with my dear brother William Doherty on Tim Black's show. We had a rich dialogue. Doherty has been writing on this for decades and decades and decades, right? From here to equality and a host of other things. Was wonderful co-authored a sister. He concludes it's about $258,000 for each black person. You see, but studies is just another way of delaying. Exactly. Justice delayed is justice denied. We got to keep that in mind. The quickest thing for a politician, the quickest thing for a bureaucrat, the quickest thing for a technocrat is to call for a study. What we need are executive orders, using the bully pit, and then bringing power and pressure to bear by mobilizing the people to bring pressure on the elected bodies. That's what we did in California and other places. Charles Barron, Inez Barron did that in New York.
There you go. Now, if you're watching this, if you watch both those clips, which you just did, you can't tell me that there's not a difference in the energy from that. I know it's words of words, but if the Green Party up to this point has not been using the bully pulpit to make that a core issue, right? You telling me they support it, don't do the same thing. Once again, hell, Kamala Harris supports reparations. She supported H.R. 40. She signed off on it. She was a co-sponsor when she was a senator. So was Cory Booker. So was probably Amy Klobuchar. You get what I'm saying? But who's out here riding for it? Cori Bush, maybe. You understand what I'm saying? That's the difference. I'm going to put this the best way I could put this. If Dr. Stein was riding for black folks in the black agenda and Indian white supremacy and reparations and those things that are necessary, like We need this immediately. Do you realize Black America, with 14% of the population, we own 2 to 3% of the wealth in this country that we built for free against our will, and that we are going over a hill, that 40% of our small businesses closed during COVID, and they didn't reopen? We haven't bounced back, okay? We haven't bounced back, and we were already struggling. We were struggling before COVID. Only about 10% of our businesses employ more than one person. We need so much in the Black community. We're dying, literally dying over here. And issues are not prioritized. If Dr. Jill Stein was actually on a bully pulpit about that, she'd be a rock star. But she ain't a rock star to us because she's not. It's not a conspiracy against her or a smear tactic. It is what it is. If Dr. West is not supporting reparations and the Black agenda and interested in building a Black agenda for Black Americans, I wouldn't support him. And I love him. I have great respect and fondness for not only Dr. West, but also his wife. My wife and I consider him and his wife friends. But you know what? If he did not support and was willing to use the bully pulpit to push for Black American issues and for reparations, I would not support him. And you know what? He will respect me for it too. Because I just couldn't do it. You understand? And I think if Dr. Stein was really riding for Black people like that, a lot of people that support him, like Kyle Kalinske and Crystal, they would not support her then. I think she would lose a lot of support if she did ride for Black people, because everybody does. Everyone loses support when they support Black people with a full chest. Do you understand? Are you understanding this? Anyone who supports Black people too much gets vilified. Anyone who supports Black people too much. Hell, back in the day, it was illegal for Black people to learn to read. They could get killed. And you know what happened to white people that told them? They got tarred and feathered. John Brown was a real thing. There were white kids dead on them freedom rides too, found dead and buried in ditches. Okay? Right along beside Black bodies and with some white bodies. So what I'm saying is anybody who fights too hard for Black people loses a whole lot of support from white people. We know this, right? With all the talk about 2025 and the dismantling of the FBI, I'm not too mad about the FBI part. I still remember reading about COINTELPRO. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not talking to a bunch of liberals. Hopefully I got some lefties watching right now who think that I'm the most, I don't know what you think about me. It's not about me. It's about this. But what I'm saying is that my politics has not changed to that degree that we don't have some things in common. It's just I became an advocate for Black Americans. But I realize it's a class issue as well that we need to deal with. Economics, yeah. And I'm talking about economics for Black folks and, of course, economics for poor folks. But I got to stand on my reparations. I got to stand on the Black agenda because we are literally dying. They just don't talk about it. They only talk about Black issues when somebody loses a football contract or when a cop shoots a Black man. That's it. I think that's all the issues. Also, Dr. Jill Stein said she wanted a JAMA to run. I get it. I'm glad he didn't, because then that would have been a hard choice. Because as I said it before, I got nothing but the utmost respect for both of those gentlemen. I also want to point out one last thing before we go. I don't know if Brianna Joy Gray and the rest of the people that are, I saw a lot of people throwing Dr. West under the bus over Dr. Jill Stein and his decision not to work with her, and the comment section, every Bree comment section, The interview with Ajamo, the interview with Jill. I read some of the comments, and I'm not saying Bria is responsible for that at all. She is not. But what I'm saying is, I want you to hear Dr. West. I was a platform he went to discuss why he left the Green Party. Here goes his own words about what were some of his chief concerns.
Delete your tweet because you're losing votes. You ought to hey, I'm not that kind of brother. Like my moral witness, don't vote for me. You can vote for Jill Stein. I don't vote for Jill Stein. I've lost faith in her. I've lost any kind of trustworthiness in her, but she can run. She got good position. But I don't have that kind of deep respect I used to have. If I had a chance, if I knew then, I wouldn't have voted for her. You see what I mean? But that's just part of the process. That don't mean she's a demon or nothing. I just got a close look and I'll draw my conclusion. So if you can vote for Sister Jill, I am who I am. I take my stances. And if you want to vote for me, this is what you're getting. I'm not changing who I am just in order to, or lessening my voice when it comes to moral witness, just in order to get votes. That's not who I am. Well, you don't need to be in politics. Really? Watch our campaign. Keep track of what we're going to do. Watch when Biden's militarism and his enabling of vicious genocide begins to pull the cover over him more and more. Watch when Trump goes to jail. Watch when all these new possibilities that nobody's talking about begin to bloom and loom large. And watch, I'm doing the same thing, same consistency, same constancy, same humanistic stance, same Christian witness, and looking at the world through the lens of the least of these and the wretched of the earth, no matter what the system of oppression is. Fascism comes in a lot of different forms. Authoritarian comes in a lot of different forms. And I'm against all of those different forms. But my focus is, in fact, against the U.S. empire. There's no doubt about that. I'm in the belly of this beast. But that doesn't mean that I don't have a concern for Russians, don't have a concern for Iranians, and don't have a concern for the Indonesians, don't have a concern for Uganda and so forth. No, not at all. And there I clash with so many of my leftist brothers and sisters and siblings. We have overlap, but we got different views. And so if the only thing they can see me say that and say, well, he's a liberal. Well, what do you mean by liberal? I'm no liberal at all. I'm committed to the dignity of human beings. And my dear brother John Mubarak will say this, liberal equivocation, brother West. No, it ain't liberal equivocation. It's moral clarity from my point of view.
Labels.
All these different labels.
Right.
And, hey, voted for. You see what I mean? Stein, I've lost faith in her. I've lost any kind of trustworthiness in her, but she can run. She got good position.
Dr. Jill Stein says she thinks it's because she ran that he has an issue. Doesn't sound like that was what he's saying at all. Sounds like there was an issue besides that was before she decided to run. That's what it sounds like, but I don't know. But does it sound like it's nothing? It was something. Dr. Jill Stein, you've been in politics for quite some time. You know how to pick your battles. Those are your words. Dr. West is a novice. You aren't politicking on this particular issue, are you? I mean, you said you're really good at this. And he can learn a lot from you about the way you deal with issues, running and all this stuff. And I don't know. I'm just saying, it seems like there may be a little bit more to it, that aren't being discussed. How does Dr. West go from supporting you to not wanting to work with you and then losing respect for you? How does that happen? You said he was a surrogate for you in 2016. Something happened. That's what I'm saying. I think there's some holes in the story is all I'm saying. Something went awry. And it sounds like you want to put it all on Dr. West and say it's something he did or didn't do that made him have an issue with you. I think it's two people to have an issue. But okay, I don't know what it was. Once again, folks, I'm only responding to this because there was absolutely no one that I saw. I don't want to say that. I didn't see anybody of who could. I felt that it was important for me to respond my piece on this. Since I interviewed I interviewed Peter Dow, Dr. West about the Green Party, this whole thing. And Dr. West has been on my channel a number of times, and I felt it was important that I get out here and talk about it. But once again, I got nothing but respect for Dr. West and Ajamu Baraka. I got no problems at all with Dr. Jill Stein. I supported her in 2016. We all know where my vote's going. My vote's going for Dr. West. Black people time is running out for Black Americans. When white people get a cold, we got the pneumonia. When white people have a cold, we have pneumonia. That hasn't changed. And that pneumonia has turned into something far worse. Okay? That's where we are. And that's not a pressing issue for the Green Party. I'm sorry. And it doesn't seem to be a pressing issue. Specifically, that specific issue for Black Americans does not seem to be a pressing issue for any party, except maybe the Justice for All Party. It definitely was not a pressing issue for Nick Bronner and the Movement for People's Party or People's Party. It was not a pressing issue for the Democrats or Republicans. It's not a pressing issue for the Green Party. And I've already laid it all out, the rest of that. Okay? I think I said enough on that point. No harsh feelings, progressives. It's just, I don't think many of you really understand where we are as a people living within this empire, where Black people are. See, because there are different levels where we are right now, where Black America is right now. We're having conversations about migrants coming into America, immigration. Immigration is a big issue. No one will address it. And whenever it's addressed and anyone voices concerns, they're called xenophobic. Migrants are coming to this country, and now we're competing against migrants for resources. And they're getting them before us. So that's another issue that I have to address. And that's something else that's on my, but I don't think many progressives really get it. If I thought I could just move away from it, you know what I'm saying? I would, but I can't. It's a pressing issue. There is a time clock on this for us. Of course, there are white people that are going through hell too. I want to speak to their needs as well in the class struggle. But as for Black Americans, it's a different level. Okay? And it's more widespread per capita. Okay? I hope that makes sense. But my belief in policies, I still support a lot of the same policies. A lot of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Okay? And we're going to need some clarification. Someone's going to need to tell me how Black people who are sitting at the bottom of the economic totem pole in America and have been there, stapled to the bottom of the hierarchy of economics, from every category of good, we're at the bottom, and every category of bad, we're at the top. I want to know how this bringing new Americans into this country who then go above us somehow. How am I supposed to deal with that? How are we supposed to mitigate that? Without direct policies for African Americans. There's direct policies for migrants. There has to be. Or they come here and starve, right? So what are direct policies for Black Americans? And it's not, and if I thought, once again, if I thought it wasn't a necessity, if I thought it could be ignored, in good faith, it could be ignored, I would not want to carry this because it's a lot to carry. Some of the people that I advocate for do not even care about politics. They don't get this long process of having to support a candidate and having to push that candidate in the direction you want and all these things. They don't get all that. It's a process. If they're not saying exactly what they want to hear from the gate, they are shut down. They don't want to hear from it. 45% of Americans don't vote for a reason.